Hello everyone, welcome to From the Star Wars Library, where Star Wars is in print, the Force is with the readers. We return to 1984 for Small Wars this time. I'm your host, Nathan P. Butler, and yes, the issue we're dealing with is actually entitled Small Wars. It is issue number 94 of the ongoing Marvel Star Wars series. Bear in mind, we do have the Ewok series premiering in the near future here, so it's kind of an interesting thing to have an Ewok on the cover, but this is not an Ewoks comic, it is simply a Star Wars comic with an Ewoks cover. That will make a difference in the near future. This is written by Mary Jo Duffy with art by new series regular artist, for better or worse, Cynthia Martin. You can find this in the pages also these days of Star Wars Omnibus A Long Time Ago, Volume 5. Now, I say, for better or worse, when it comes to her doing the art because, I don't know. I mean, it's just not art that I am particularly fond of. I mean, some of the issues are ones I'm fond of, but it's very goofy, very little line use, it seems like. Almost a minimalist approach. The characters look somewhat like themselves, especially the main characters look pretty much like themselves, but we've got just some odd choices of positioning. I don't know, there's just something about the artwork that makes it feel to me like they had gotten to a point in the Marvel series where the stories are going to kind of taper off to a degree. I'm wondering if some of the talent here is somewhat tapering off because some of the better artists the series has seen, like Ron Frenz, for instance, are being moved into something else at the time back at Marvel back in the early 80s here. Not my favorite artist for the series, but we're kind of stuck with her for most of the rest of the series run. It's also not really my favorite issue, but it does introduce a couple of interesting elements into it. I should probably also note here that this is the last Marvel issue to be released in a month where it's just one Marvel series. Next month kicks off the Ewoks comic series alongside the main series. Now, what we have here essentially is that on the forest moon of Endor, there's been an accident. C-3PO has pointed out that there is this Ewok and this Laspi, yes, the little furry guys who, when they get overly excited or hit puberty, they turn into those monstrous hooks and whatnot. The Incredible Hook, right? Apparently, they are both sweet on the same little girl. And unfortunately, C-3PO mentions this, and now we've got a feud between these two teeny tiny furry little creature races, the teddy bear races, who happen to all be right now on the Forest Moon of Endor thanks to the meetings and such for the Alliance of Free Planets. So it looks like there are going to be small wars. And they talk as if it's this huge galactic thing, only to realize later on about, 2 or 3 pages in the issue, oh, this is Ewoks and Laspis. This is actually not that big a deal. There are some callbacks in here. There's a callback, for instance, to Chanteuse. See, I'm finally saying it right. Chanteuse of the Stars, where we have the issue of, Leia saying, well, they're different after they hit puberty, talking about the Laspis. The ones here are all young, but once they're adolescent, you'll see, talking to Han and Chewbacca here, mainly Han, and Danny, of course the Zeltron, says, he'll also see if one of them gets overexcited. Do you remember what you started that time on Cabray, Princess Leia? And of course, she's kind of like, oh, I can't believe you remember that. But it's a reference back to Chanteuse of the Stars. Really only referenced here because I wanted to make sure people knew that I could finally say it correctly, because I kept catching myself saying it wrong. Suffice to say, it is a bit of a mess of an issue, made all the more weird, it's kind of a mess just because of the premise, all the more weird by Heerog. Heerog here is an aide, okay, to Admiral Akbar. We've never met him before. This is his first issue. And apparently he is plotting the downfall of the Alliance. He was the one who helped try to set up the situation so that the Ewoks and the Laspis would go at each other and destabilize the Alliance early on with these key allies and such. Really kind of a lame plan to try to bring down the government. We'll find that the species that he is and the group he's working for is called the Hiromi. Think a species of Jar Jars that look more insectoid and don't speak as goofy as they just are in a Jar Jar sort of way. So they got the speak forward thing going for them, I guess, and not speaking a baby talk. No Yoda speak, no Jar Jar speak here. Suffice to say, he has this grand master plan, including a bomb. Doesn't go so well. He winds up almost himself getting crushed. The bomb winds up being a dud, more or less. It gets crushed by a thrown rock and such, and his grand master plan of causing a riot, basically, that would tear apart the Alliance doesn't work. But we know that he's out there working with other Hiromi, and they may be back in the future. The bug people who want to take over the galaxy and are completely and utterly inept at doing so. Yeah, it makes for an odd issue. So, do things get worked out between the Ewoks and the last piece? Of course they do. Does anything big happen as far as the Hiromi sabotage, they're going to take over the universe plot? No, not really, but it introduces Hirog and the Hiromi for the first time, and that will be important. For better or worse, the incompetent bug people that are kind of annoying are going to play a major role in the last few issues of the Marvel series and the major confrontation that happens there. Yeah, like I said, it seems as though things are really kind of tapering off. I like the Nagai Toph War, but the element of the Hiromi in it is kind of frustrating, to say the least. So, this particular issue, Small Wars, is this an essential read? I'm gonna say one of my split answers, a yes and no. For the Marvel series, I think it is. It's not a great issue, and it's kind of a fluff tale. But you need to meet Hirog, you need to know about the Hiromi to be able to understand a little bit more about them when we meet them again. So it's important because of that element being inserted. Overall, for the modern EU reader, no, this is not an essential issue because it doesn't add that much to our overall understanding of the continuity unless you're reading the Marvel series, in which case the other recommendation would be the one that you should be following. So, an odd one, Small Wars, one that I wish you could skip, but because of Hirog and the Hiromi, you really probably can't. With that, we'll wrap up this episode. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with the readers.